Bitcoin soaring, broke a new all-time high, 112,000 US dollars per token. Congratulations, digital handshakes all around. We saw this coming. How did we see this coming? Because we followed the M2 money supply. We followed Peter from House of Crypto. I made a video on that. We followed Raoul Pal, who's, I think this was his original theory. But basically, there's a 92% correlation between Bitcoin and the M2 money supply. All the way down here at this turnaround point, we're like, okay, M2 money supply says we're going up, and guess what Bitcoin ended up doing? Going up, breaking all-time highs. Also, for reference, it's projected to continue to go up, not straight up, there's going to be pullbacks, all the way to $190,000 if the correlation continues between the M2 and Bitcoin. But most people are thinking, I'm thinking this for myself too, even if we hit $190,000, it's still only like a 60-70% return on our money. And if we don't have crazy amounts of capital like MicroStrategy or someone with $100 million to invest, what are you going to do? Put 10 grand in and take 17 grand out? That's not life-changing money. And a lot of people are just waiting for alt season to start. So in this video, I want to address, is alt season even going to be happening this year, or is this cycle different because of the ETFs? When alt season is due to land, if it is landing. And number 3, exactly how to play it to put yourself in the best position to hit those 10, 20, 50, 100x's, those fabled 10 grands to the $1 million level that could actually be life-changing for a lot of us. But first, I want to point this out with Bitcoin because yes, it's at an all-time high. Yes, everyone who's invested in Bitcoin is quite euphoric, but we have to remember Bitcoin is the music to the party. This is what starts the party. This is what gets everyone gelling, gets everyone vibing, gets everyone in a good spirit, changing their state, changing their lives. Shout out to Tony Robbins. And then once everyone's dancing, everyone's a little bit loose. That's normally when things start to get a little bit slippery and slip that value down the crypto whip into the altcoins. We're going to talk to you about that in a sec. But first, we have to stay at the top because Bitcoin has a lot of bullish indicators because the higher Bitcoin goes, the more liquidity can flow down that slippery whip. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about in a second. And what more bullish news do you want than the most powerful man in the most powerful empire in the history of the world literally bull posting Bitcoin today, 8 minutes ago, heading to the crypto dinner in Loudoun County, Virginia in a little while. The USA is dominating in crypto, Bitcoin, etc., and we're going to keep it that way. He literally says Bitcoin, also crypto, which is every other altcoin out there. I mean, Donald Trump is bullish on alt season. Not only that, but we have the golden cross appearing on the chart literally today. The last 2 times the golden cross happened on the Bitcoin chart, it pumped 121%. This was in 2023. And then last year we had the golden cross. It pumped 68%. But will these gains carry over to the altcoins where we can hit those 10, 50, 100x's? Well, this is what happens in a normal cycle. This is James Wynn over on Twitter. We're entering stage 2. ETH is outperforming Bitcoin. Alt season about to begin. Retweet if you agree. Now you can see the money flow starts in Bitcoin. That's the music to the party. Then when people make money in, say, Bitcoin, say people are making 10, 20, 30 grand, depending on how much they're putting in based on the 40 to 50% we just ran up, then like, I've got a little bit of extra cash now. Why don't I move down the risk curve into something like Ethereum? Because for Ethereum to double, the market cap doesn't have to move as much as Bitcoin's market cap in terms of dollar value. And then what happens is ETH might double and then everyone's like, wow, we're all wealthy in the ETH. Let's go further down the chain. Let's go to the top layer 2s on Ethereum and start investing there. And then they're going to blow up. And then you have full alt season where the micro caps, the $2 million market caps are going to absolutely be exploding, all doing 100x's where we're going to be around to catch them. I'm going to talk to you more about that at the end of the video. And on this channel, we use something called the crypto whip to show you this. This is where the biggest market caps are at the top. Projects like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, Avalanche, XRP. These are the bigger market cap tokens and therefore they're harder to move. But what happens is as they move up, just like when you're cracking a whip, you're pulling the momentum of the handle up and you don't have to lift the handle very far for the tail of the whip to really pick up velocity and crack. And obviously it's a lot more volatile. It's going to break the literal sound barrier on a real whip. And that's when you get these micro cap tiny tokens, the $2 million to $200 million valuations, where you can cash in on these 100x's. And I mean, this is what the normies want. This literally got 1.5, this is a tweet, it got 1.5 million views and it doesn't even have a big account. But he wrote, let me understand, I put 1K into Bitcoin today, and if Bitcoin goes to $212,000, I only make $1,000. Yeah, okay, no one will get rich. I believe this thesis is why people are going to be moving down the risk curve, down the crypto whip, and putting their money into these micro caps and altcoins and even meme coins, which I'm going to be talking to you about, because people will be bored with the 20, 40, 50% gains left in Bitcoin. And instead, they have dreams like this. One of their friends will have a result like this, which this person invested in the King token, a meme coin, $15,000 they put in here, and they now own 783,000 US dollars. You're not going to get results like that in Bitcoin. You're not going to hear about results like that in Bitcoin unless you have the $100 million to invest up front, because 40% of 100 mil is 40 mil, but 40% of $1,000 is 400. It's just like, unless you've got the capital, Bitcoin is boring to you. But at the moment, Bitcoin is leading the headlines and almost leading all the other tokens in terms of ROI. And Carl B. Menger tweeted out this funny expectations of alt season in 2025, which you Ronaldo flying on this private jet. Reality, you're just sitting in your laundry room on the ground being like, what the hell's going on? Where are our 100x returns? And I even saw this clip Carl Chassie posted today. He says, this alt season won't look like the last one. In past cycles, retail and crypto funds rotated profits from Bitcoin into alts. Like we said, down the crypto whip from the big ones like Bitcoin into the altcoins. This time, it's Michael Saylor, Metaplanet, and ETF holders stacking Bitcoin, and they're not rotating. These are companies and literally countries and states who are stacking Bitcoin, and they're not going to be degenerates and moving down that risk curve. They're going to be holding their Bitcoin and never selling it. But don't get it twisted, altcoins will run, just not how you remember. And this is Ran from Crypto Banter, who I met in Token 2049 in Dubai. He was a nice guy, I met him at a party. He's saying that there's going to be way less liquidity. But then you come down and have a look at Kyron, who says he agrees with Peter from House Crypto, which I did a video on yesterday. Rand's argument doesn't make sense because altcoins do not need the money flowing into Bitcoin to rotate in order to explode. What they need is the average person buying them, like gambling in a casino. You require far less capital to pump these coins than it seems because the market cap is deceiving, which is exactly what we are saying. The norm is, just like in this tweet here, are going to be investing not in Bitcoin. You don't need Michael Saylor to rotate his profits in when you have trillions of dollars from the mainstream coming into this casino and absolutely making those market caps do crazy things, because when you have a $10 million market cap token and 500 grand gets put in, I don't know the exact math, but that thing's literally going to 2, 3, or 4x just because liquidity is so low. And Alex Becker disagrees with Rand. He says ETH is currently outperforming. This is what the start of altcoin season looks like. Brace me, brothers. He also says, did you know that it's alt season and you're about to become incredibly wealthy doing nothing, which is kind of exciting, kind of boring at the same time. No? Well, now you do know. You are welcome. Becker is super bullish on it being alt season right now. And so is this guy who I found on Twitter called Cyclop. He says the cycle isn't broken or dead, it's just moving slower. For everyone who's impatient and being like, where the hell is alt season? It should be here by now. Apparently it shouldn't, because Weimar.x on X says the biggest alt season in history starts on May 25, which is in 3 days if you live in the US. Historically, each alt season has started 380 days after the Bitcoin halving. You can see in this graph right here. May 25, 380 days after the Bitcoin halving is when it's apparently going to go parabolic. Altcoins market cap will hit $15 trillion this cycle. It's sitting at about $1 trillion now, so that's an average of a 15x return. And in terms of timing, I actually really like Ilio Trades' tweet right here. He says the reason no alt season yet is Bitcoin holders have a much better reason to expect higher prices, because the M2 money supply is going to go up to 190 grand. All these treasuries, including the US, and GameStop is apparently going to drop soon. Metaplanet, whose stock is absolutely soaring, they're all owning Bitcoin and making a lot of money doing it. So therefore, people aren't looking at altcoins yet because they're still making money at Bitcoin. Until they feel the trend is overextended, they won't slam the rotation into altcoins. But when they do, it will be generational. The 10th inning, the supercycle. And just to show you how deep we are into the Bitcoin season, we are at 18 on the altcoin season index, which shows, if I can zoom in here and scroll along, us pretty solidly in this orange Bitcoin season. As Ilya is saying, once people stop finding the gains in Bitcoin when they think it's overextended, that is when this is going to rotate all the way up and get us those 10 20, 50x returns, 100x returns, sometimes even, guys, 1,000x returns. Like, this has been absolutely crazy in the past. Even Cyclop turned, I saw in this thread, he turned $8,000 into $5 million. It sounds insane, but when you've seen a euphoric bull market and an alt season, like in 2021 and like in 2017, it's so obvious in hindsight, just because so many normies come crashing through the door with crazy amounts of money to buy these bags off us. So now we know that alt season is coming. What tokens should we be buying, and how do we really cash in to those 10 to 100x's? Because there's a lot of tokens, and I'm going to go through about 4 of them right now that have sort of already run. So this is Alex Becker. We've tracked him a lot on this channel because he's made tens of millions of dollars in crypto. And because my theory is, like, if we could track Warren Buffett's actions exactly when he took them in the stock market, you probably should just copy trade him. And it's the same in crypto, but we can actually track the top traders and the biggest influencers because we have access to their wallets and portfolios, because the blockchain is transparent. And so that's what we do on this channel. And Alex Becker is holding a massive bag of this token I'm about to tell you about. He says, here's what happens next. The AI wave goes parabolic, and a top AI coin, probably Tau, Bitenza Tau down here, does an insane run to the top 15 tokens. Every AI coin under it follows with crazy 10 to 20x runs. Mids like Destra, this is the token I'm going to talk about, 10 to 15x, and low caps 20 to 30x. And so if you're looking for a 10 to 15x, Alex Becker thinks Destra might get you there, which is currently priced at 17 cents. He is an advisor to this token at a $160 million market cap. He believes that's going to get up close to that $2 billion level. And what I'm actually going to tell you about, guys, because you can see a lot of these have retraced. You know, it's gone from 11 cents to 17 cents, which a lot of people are feeling like they're missing out. I'm going to address that in a second, and how to find tokens that haven't run yet as well. Now, Peter from House of Crypto has been talking about this token called Grass recently, and Grass has also had a decent bit of a run so far, $1.40 up to $2.40, so a nice return for people who got it in early. Currently at a 600 mil market cap and a $2.4 billion market cap here. Now, with any of these tokens we're talking about, as soon as the alt season really begins to boom and money rotates from the top tokens, ETH, Bitcoin, down to these mid caps and small caps, you're going to see strong return. Here's Murad, who actually has a new thesis. He says this cycle is going to be different. He says the nature of money flow in crypto is changing. Meme season is the new alt season many of you are waiting for. And this is what we talked about. We talked about Bitcoin going to Ethereum, going to large caps, then into alts and micros. He now thinks Bitcoin goes to Solana and then to Doge, then the large cap memes, and then the full degenerate meme season. And his number one holding, if you don't follow us here on the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We've been talking about this coin since it dipped down to its $250 million market cap level. Currently bounced back to a $900 million market cap, and Murad thinks this is going to $100 billion. He thinks there's still a 100x return in this token. And I'm not 100% sure. I believe there's a 100x return still in here, but it is my biggest bag in my portfolio. I believe there is a lot of upside still to go. And that's because I agree with Murad. He says more and more people will begin to understand that cultishness is the biggest driver of value. And the original cult was Bitcoin. Then you went into the old school, he calls them dino cults, XRP. How many people are diehard XRP, diehard Cardano? A lot of people in Chainlink. I had a couple of people over to my house recently who were here in the 2021 cycle, you know, the real normie side of the scale. They had crypto still from 2021, and it started to bounce back a little bit. And of course, what were they in? Well, they were the exit liquidity on these dino cults like XRP, ADA, Link. I think they had Polkadot, Doge. All these classics were in the portfolio. And the theory is that these new cults will be the exact same situation, but of this new cycle. An SPX 1600, Giga, Mog, Apu, PopCap, Bitcoin, with, this is Obama, Sonic Inu, and Retardia. Now, another token that has been ripping, no play on words here, but absolutely going crazy. Even today, I think up another 10%, up 22% on the week. You can see it's just been running from this $1 billion market cap here. And if we zoom out, I think it's had even a peak down here at no, I guess maybe not. Maybe I can zoom out a little bit more. Yeah, down here at 18 cents, now up to almost a 10x from March since that big pullback. It's Fartcoin. And Murad says, buy meme coins. They get funnier the higher they go up, because this is now the number 57 token in the world. And I still don't think this has reached mainstream ears yet. It's been big in the crypto community. A lot of people become multimillionaires off Fartcoin. But, I don't think people's dads, uncles, 45-year-old ladies in the gym who are overhearing you talking have heard of Fartcoin yet. And this could be one of the easiest plays, just because it's hilarious to think that people have become a millionaire off Fartcoin. And Fartcoin is a very memorable name. It has absolutely zero utility, and it makes people roll their eyes. And like Murad says, it gets funnier the higher it goes up. What I also want to talk to you about, because like I've been saying, a lot of these tokens have had a nice pullback, even though mainstream and retail aren't here yet. The theory goes you should still be buying these at these prices, because when retail comes, these are going to be 10, 20x higher. There is another way to play this, and it actually happened to me yesterday. And it's to look at lower tokens down that crypto whip, if we go down to that crypto whip, to much more micro cap tokens. And I'm not saying buy this token, but I literally saw Fartcoin ripping. Maybe it is that correlation I have in my head. But Fartcoin did crazy things. And then this token, quadruple P, PP Poo, who one of my friends put me onto, it was at $184,000 market cap, and it didn't really correspond to Fartcoin's price going up. And this trend and this niche is basically just like slightly crude, funny tokens that the higher it goes, the more ridiculous it becomes. And because Fartcoin did go up about 30% in the day, this thing ripped as well. I got to stop using that word, rip. But it went from $186,000 market cap to a 1.24 million. And these runners are what I like to call the late runners and the derivative tokens. Again, I'm not saying buy this. I'm not saying it's going to do well. It's actually a really low market cap. I'm not sure about the distribution of holders, so if you want to get into it, you can, but I'm not saying it's a good play, but I'm saying we got to keep our eyes out for these derivative late runners where you can literally get an 8x in a couple of hours, because this is the other way to play it. And this is where most of the 100x's in the cycle come from, because you have to realize, guys, the euphoric moments won't last more than maybe 2 weeks to 6 weeks. It's going to be hectic. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be money flying absolutely everywhere. But you're going to get a couple of weeks to take advantage of these crazy opportunities. And this is the example I always give. I call these the late running cryptos. And again, they're going to be the best way to tap into a potential 100x. And of course, the riskiest way. You could get left holding the bag. But this is how I like to play it. And I think a lot of my returns are going to come from tokens like this. This is Altura. And in the last cycle, gaming was a massive narrative. And Axie Infinity was the blue chip of that at the end of the crypto whip. It did some crazy returns. But what happened is it opened the portal and opened the gateway for other games to go crazy. And Altura launched way later, and its marketing was way later, literally months. So this is February, September. There's probably 3 to 4 months after Axie Infinity started going crazy. I won't say the word ripping again, but Altura soon followed and got more than 1,000% return insanely fast. And this was actually Alex Becker mentioning it. And what's going to happen is there's going to be these tokens, say like Fartcoin's going to go up and do crazy things, hit 20 billion market cap. But then you're going to have the derivatives and the other new competitive tokens that are just going to be launched over and over again. There's going to be tens of thousands of these tokens launched, and they're going to do extremely well. And the top ones are going to perform extremely well, giving you the opportunity to tap into those 10x returns. And this is why you need to be in the trenches and making sure you're hearing about these narratives and hearing about these niches way before everybody else. Because if you're not in the 100x or 20x zone, you're going to be either in the 5x zone where you probably won't end up selling your bag and you'll be the exit liquidity anyway, or you're literally going to be buying at the pico top and everyone's going to be taking your money, splitting up between them and celebrating and fist bumping without you. Now, there's lots of ways to get as early as possible into narratives. There's also a lot of ways to run a marathon, but I highly recommend you wear the best runners possible. And that's what we are building here on this channel. We have the Rubicon Inner Circle, where we have whale trackers, portfolio trackers, and social media trackers of the biggest influencers and the best traders. People who have turned, like Crypto God John, $5,000 into $2 million in the last cycle, because we want to see exactly what they're buying, when they buy it, and have the advantage of doing our research, seeing what the narrative is, and getting in way before he promotes it to his massive audience. So we do this with people like Elon Musk, people like Andrew Tate, who have crazy influence on tokens, especially when the greed and fear index is at all-time highs, which it's ticking up that way now. We're in the green. And it leads to results like this, a nice 5x in 7 days when Alex Becker bought blockchain bets. You can see we even tracked, we had Alex Becker here on Pinlink, which I believe is this one right here, which went on to do a 14x in about 2.5 weeks, which was a real nice one for me. But we also looked at where did Alex Becker get his recommendation from? And that's when we found a new influencer like Crypto Zach LA, who we're constantly researching, looking at his portfolio because we want to find the best traders in the world and trade exactly like them. If you want to join the inner circle, click the link in the description below. Looking forward to seeing you in there. Enjoy your bull run, enjoy your alt season. I'll see you in the next video.